For any guitarist, having the ability to fingerpick is such a valuable skill. And in this video, I want to show you how to fingerpick any song on guitar, learning 3 simple patterns. But before we dive in, if you're interested in joining a songwriting community, getting access to exclusive content, live Q&A sessions, real-time feedback, discounted workshops, then please check out our Patreon page. You'll find the link below. So we're going to focus primarily on the picking hand here rather than the hand fretting the chords, because one of the secrets to learning great technique on guitar is actually isolating the hands and focusing on them one at a time. And there are 3 basic patterns we're going to look at. And by learning these patterns and learning variations of them, your hand will develop the coordination and the independence to be able to tackle more complex and advanced fingerpicking patterns later on. The first pattern we're going to look at is the forward roll. We're going to place our thumb on the 6th string. We're going to place these 3 fingers on strings 3, 2, and 1. And the forward roll very simply is what we want to learn to do with this pattern is to move our thumb between bass strings. So the thumb is going to move between the 6th, the 5th, and the 4th strings, and our fretting hand is staying out of the picture for now. Now, the reason we want to learn to move our thumb is because we're going to need to play different bass notes on different strings, depending on which chord we're playing. So if we're playing a G chord, for example, we need to hit the 6th string. If we're playing a C chord, we need to move our thumb now to the 5th string. And if we're playing a D chord, we need to move our thumb to the 4th string. The other thing we want to learn to do is move these 3 fingers onto different string groups. So we call this the outer string group and we call this an inner string group. So if we're playing, for example, this G chord, we can play exactly the same pattern, but instead of playing the strings 3, 2, 1, we can play the strings 4, 3, 2. So it would sound like this. And so having the ability to move our fingers between outer and inner groups of strings gives us this beautiful variation that we hear played out in such songs as Babe, I'm Gonna Leave You by Led Zeppelin. So the first pattern we have is this. Now you'll notice there that I was vamping with the left hand and creating some little melodic lines on top of the chords. And that's one of the advantages of fingerpicking over strumming. The fingerpicking really allows you to extract those melodic lines and make them clearly audible on top of the chords you're playing. Okay, pattern number 2 is the backward roll. So the backward roll is the opposite of the forward roll in the sense that it still starts with the thumb, but instead of using the fingers 1, 2, 3 in that order, we're now going fingers 3, 2, 1. And again, to practice this, we should be moving our thumb between the bass notes. Now, the addition of the backward roll becomes really useful because a lot of songs blend both the forward roll and the backward roll. And we can practice blending these two by alternating between the forward and the backward roll like this. And you hear this pattern and variations of this pattern used in songs all the time, one of which is R.E.M's Everybody Hurts. Now with Everybody Hurts, we've got a 6-note pattern there. So the thumb isn't being played in the middle. It's simply thumb, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. And again for the G chord. Thumb, 1, 2, 3, 2, 1. We hear this pattern used again in Leonard Cohen's Alleluia, this time with a focus on the inside strings, which are warmer. Getting comfortable with the forward and the backward roll gives us access to so many different combinations of these patterns, and we can see this play out in songs such as Stairway to Heaven. And here we see some lovely little variations of the forward and the backward roll. The first one being a little pinch move between the thumb and the third finger. Before we get a forward roll, followed by another pinch move, by a little backward roll. Reversing the direction back up to the top string, another backward roll. Reversing direction back up to the top string. Then we get so practicing these forward and backward roll patterns gives us the ability to then start combining them in new and interesting ways. And when we apply this to our songwriting, we're really trusting that our picking hand takes over and does its own thing. Okay, the third pattern I want to show you is the alternating thumb pattern, and there are lots of variations of this pattern. But one of the best ways to practice it is to simply put our thumb on the 6th string and practice alternating thumb finger, thumb finger, thumb finger, back and forth. So it would sound like this. Another way to apply this is with a pattern called Travis picking. And Travis picking is getting the thumb to do this. And so what we can start to do is combine Travis picking with a straight up alternating thumb pattern. And if we swing that pattern, give it a little bounce, it starts to sound like this. So by learning these 3 simple patterns and blending them in different ways, you ultimately develop the skills to be able to play any material, regardless of how sophisticated or complex it might be. Happy songwriting. See you soon.